Okay, guys, this is not good. It's not good at all. The US economy is absolutely tanking. The stock market is getting obliterated after hours. This S&P 500 is down 3.5% and falling rapidly still after Trump's tariff announcement. And it was actually a worst case scenario. It was worse than people even expected. So let's talk about it right now. I'm going to show you a Piers Morgan clip of these Trump supporters absolutely humiliating themselves defending this crap. I mean, it was a disgrace. And the amount of, like, frankly, elitism and arrogance on the panel was disgusting. But let's just talk about it. So Trump does his tariff announcement. Today is Liberation Day, April 2nd. This was the big day. Trump was going to announce his tariffs. And people thought it would be significant, but maybe not like this, okay? And the market was relatively stable today. And then he, interestingly enough, he scheduled his press conference right after the market closed, obviously deliberately. And he started off the press conference by saying, we're going to do a 10% baseline tariff on every single country, which is, significant, but maybe not what people expected. People thought, you know what, maybe that's less than originally expected because the market actually shot up. It was up over 1%, which is pretty significant. And then all of a sudden, the president of the United States pulled out a chart. And on that chart showed every single country in the world, and it was beyond belief how significant these tariffs are. Almost 50% on China, 25% on the EU. Every single country is getting tariffed, even some countries where there was literally no human beings on, like islands in the Atlantic Ocean, completely insane with penguins on it, but absolutely insane. The market absolutely collapsed over 4%, over 4.5% down. It is beyond belief. Even investors are in shock over how insane this is. And the way they would, and even like some countries like Vietnam, for example, where many American companies left instead of China, 50% tariff. 50%, Taiwan, 35% tariff. This is a massive, massive deal. And guys, make sure to like and subscribe, by the way. It's super good for the algorithm. Subscribe, please. We're almost at 500 subs. Super important. And listen to how they actually calculated the tariffs. Because people are like, how do they come up with this for each country? Listen to how freaking mind-boggling this is. Just figured out where these fake tariff rates come from. They didn't actually calculate tariff rates plus non-tariff barriers as they say they did. Instead, for every country, they just took our trade deficit with that country and divided it by the country's exports to us. So if we have $17.9 billion trade deficit with Indonesia, its exports to us are $28 billion. 17.9 divided by 28 equals 64%, which Trump claims is the tariff rate Indonesia charges us, which isn't true. What absolute nonsense. Again, these people have no idea what they're doing, and it's why the U.S. economy is in shambles. So let's just talk about the Piers Morgan clip here. The first clip I'm going to show you is one of the commentators, Batya Sungor, whatever her name is. She is absolutely out of control, complete Trump propaganda here. I'm sorry, but that's just what it is. The idea that she says he's standing up for the working people and the people on Wall Street are mad, that's why. First of all, it's not just rich people who have money in the stock market. Many people who are going to retire have money in the stock market. Many millions of Americans have money in the stock market. So to claim it's only rich billionaires who have money and investments in the stock market is disgusting, frankly. And it's extremely elitist that, Americans shouldn't care about the stock market. It's gross. Here's the first clip of it, and we'll talk about it after.
Somebody has the courage to show up and say to Wall Street, screw you. I am waging war. I'm waging class warfare on behalf of the American working class. And you elites in Wall Street, you do what you need to do because I'm not going to stop fighting for the American working class. Suddenly, everybody is sitting around going, oh no, the stock market. Yeah, the stock market looks like that because the rich are punishing Trump for siding with the neglected and humiliated American working class over them. We have already seen these tariffs work, Pierce. The number of people crossing the southern border is at zero. Fentanyl is at record lows for the last 10 years. We have already seen $1.2 trillion in manufacturing invested in this country since January 21st. So they have already worked. Now, how long is Wall Street going to keep trying to punish this president for standing the American working class? I don't know, but I can tell you that the view from the street is people cannot believe that there is a president who is working for them, who is putting them first and telling Wall Street to go screw itself. Wall Street, which picked the Democrats for the last 3 election cycles in a row. That's what the real story is here.
Very late on a panel, but there we have it. Gillian, I detected that your right eyebrow moved an indistinguishably tiny amount, but for you, that's about as disapproving as it gets. So you weren't necessarily buying all that Batya was selling there.
No, the question I'd say is that leaving aside the reaction on Wall Street, and I would agree very strongly that the American economy has become over-financialized, that there's been pumped-up asset prices. I would agree very strongly that that has made the rich richer at the expense of ordinary American workers. I agree with all that. What I find very striking, and I think is going to be Trump's biggest challenge going forward, is that if you look at surveys of what ordinary Americans, not Wall Street, but ordinary Americans think is now going to happen to inflation and growth and employment, inflation expectations have jumped up in the last 2-3 months from 3% to over 6%. That is actually higher under some measures than we saw during COVID. The employment expectations have cratered. Ordinary American workers right now are extremely anxious. So even if you accept the theory that this is going to reorientate American economy and trade in the medium to long term, I think it's very unclear that ordinary Americans are going to see the benefits of that anytime soon. You just have to look at the consumer polls on a whole range of different surveys right now and how dramatically they've collapsed. And so one of the questions I have is that, yes, maybe in the medium to long term, this might work out, as people like Peter Navarro would say. I actually have serious doubts about that. But in the short to medium term, it's going to be brutal.
Again, first of all, it's just hilarious. Yeah, Trump is fighting for the working class. That's why he's doing these tariffs, which is why his entire cabinet is full of billionaires and why he's doing a tax cut for his billionaire friends in a couple months. Again, the entire thing is just complete BS. And it's also like, wait a second, it's not just benefiting the working class. Inflation is going to go up because of this. That's number one. Consumer sentiment is way down. People are expecting things to go worse. The approval rating on the economy is in the tank. But she doesn't care. She doesn't care about this at all. She's just saying whatever the Trump people want her to say. Again, it's a joke. It's a joke. It's indefensible that people are going to defend this. Like just the notion that it's Wall Street, it's all rich elite people, and there's actually families and people who have money in the stock market. Very elitist and frankly disrespectful thing to say. What a disgrace. And then you have her explain, like, yeah, this is actually not sure this is even going to work. Like, first of all, it takes years and years. I'll just say, okay, you want to bring domestic manufacturing back. You can't just do that tomorrow. It takes years to actually transition, years to build up a supply chain. So we could be at the end of the Trump administration and nothing is improving. There's no domestic manufacturing here. A company can announce plans, but by the time it's actually implemented, it's going to take a significantly long time. But they don't care. I don't even know if they have any idea what they're doing. And these guys, they'll just defend it. They don't care what he says. The guy can declare we're invading Mars, and these people would defend it. It's a disgrace. Here's a second clip from the Piers Morgan show. We'll talk about it after.
Great. And giving tax cuts to the wealthy in order to bolster that side of the economy. And so he's doing a 1-2 game here where he's using two mechanisms in order to raise the wages of the working class and using two other things in order to attract investment and to give those people who are business leaders an opportunity to feel better about what he has planned for them. Deregulation, this stuff is a really big deal if you are on the business owning side of things. This is great for business leaders and it's great for industry. And so it's this two-pronged approach that I don't think we've ever seen before. And it's just a very interesting way to approach.
We've seen it a million times.
Okay, let me just hang on one second.
Steve Bannon himself.
Hang on one second. Let me give hang on. Final word to Gillian, because I know you have to go. So Gillian, respond to that. Then I'm going to go to Cenk and then to Carrie. Yeah.
Steve Bannon himself is so worried about the income inequality is going to be fueled by giving tax cuts to the wealthy, and so worried about the debt implications that he said on the record that he thinks there should be tax rises for the wealthy. I think that's where many American heads are right now. And I'd be really curious as to how Trump weathers this going forward. And I'm sorry, I do have to jump. I do apologize. Great conversation. I've learned a lot. Thank you.
Gillian, great to have you. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Great talking to you,
The
Jillian.
Trump tax cuts
No, I got to
all
get in here.
Americans.
This is a lot of nonsense.
We'll say goodbye to Gillian, and we're going to carry.
Cenk, do you like paying more taxes?
Okay.
Do you want the Trump tax cuts
so
to go
listen,
away?
Can I just
and one other
regulate here
question.
and actually
one
give
other
truth
question.
and reality
Why is
to
it
this
fair that
nonsense
Vietnam
propaganda?
is charging us 90% in tariffs and we're not charging them the same? President Trump's actually being very fair.
Carrie, you want a giant corporate tax cut, don't you? You both want a giant corporate tax cut. That's what this is about. It's all a giant ruse. You're not going to hear anything about tariffs after they pass that tax cut. This is not populism. It's the exact opposite. Okay, you want it, right? You want the $4.5 trillion tax cut for all your corporate buddies, right?
And
you're trying to disguise that as populism?
No, I want it for all
of course you do.
Americans.
Not for you, for the giant corporations and the wealthy. That's what the tax cut's for. So let me just back up and explain all of this, okay? So number one, Kerry originally started talking about national security. That's always the excuse that they use. Biden used the same excuse. He said, the CHIPS Act, it's national security. We have to make the chips here at home for semiconductors. Yeah, there's some truth to that, and there's some truth to protecting manufacturing here and for national security. But what do they use it for? Biden used it to shovel over $50 billion in subsidies to the donor donor class. Now, Trump is going to use it for $4.5 trillion in giant corporate tax cuts where they're going to take it from 21% to 15%. Steve Bannon is right about that. All populists, both on the right and the left, are right about that. Even if it was true that these magical things like these tariffs are going to last for years and years, no, they're not. After the tax cuts, you're never going to hear the tariffs again, okay? But even if that were true and they were to raise $6 trillion, well, okay, great, because we have a $37 trillion debt right now, and the populists are the only ones who actually care about it. The establishment Democrats and Republicans, and now Trump, and also in his first term, now in his second term, are going to add and add and add.
Yeah, and I think Cenk is spot on here. I think this entire thing is a prelude to the tax cuts that the Trump administration is going to do. I think it's very obvious. And for people who care about the deficit, supposedly, they don't really seem to care that much because the tax cuts will raise the deficit significantly. And the idea this will trickle down to working class Americans, which apparently these Republicans care so much about, is nonsense. Nonsense. Okay, it's ridiculous. These tariffs are a disaster. It will not work, and prices will go up for the average American. That's a fact. And I do not think most people are okay with that. That is not what was being told to them on the campaign trail. They literally said that we're going to lower prices for you. That was the campaign message. That's basically why Trump won. And now it's like, oh, we're going to pay higher prices, but it's patriotic to do so. It's a disgrace. It's a disgrace. I'm so sick of this, guys. It's a disgrace. That's all I got for you guys today. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Agree, disagree with me. Drop a comment, drop a like, drop a subscription as well. We are just on the barrier of 500 subscribers. We're almost there. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you later.